Be sure to go to flipsidegaming.com and use promo code 6 for 10% off on orders over $10. It's a good deal and it helps support the show. What's up, Planeswalkers? Theros6 back with some more Magic the Gathering Theros Beyond Death previews. I figured let's have a bit of an easier time digesting some of these, shall we? So I decided to do one today. Anyway, let's just, without further ado, hop right into it. Purphoros' Intervention, the Intervention, as I think I said in the last video, they are a cycle of cards for all of the main gods. We've seen Nylea's, we've seen Erebos's, and here's Purphoros'. I don't think we've seen the other two. I don't think we've seen Thassa's or Heliod's, but this one is potentially spicy. Good old X and a red sorcery. Create an X1 red elemental creature token with trample and haste. Sacrifice it at the beginning of your next the next end step. So it's not your next end step, which is kind of unfortunate because if you find a way to cast this at instant speed to carry, it becomes slightly less good, frankly, because then you can't block with it. Although it's an X1, so why does that? Who cares? It does remove some options technically. That said, it is a modular, like, lightning ball lightning. It can do a lot of damage pretty well. Notably with 1,000-Year Storm, you can make a lot of these things. And that just sounds fun. But its other part, Purphoros' Intervention deals twice X damage to target creature or planeswalker. It uses the creature to hit face. I appreciate that. It does a good job at killing things, kind of. For 2 mana, right? 2 mana, it deals 2 damage to target creature or player. That is about on cost. A little bit undercosted, frankly, because it's a sorcery speed. But, you know, you have another option here. For 3, so 2x, you deal 4 damage. Now we're kind of in that lava coil territory. Still, you know, we're a little bit off, especially since we are also a sorcery. But this can also hit planeswalkers, which is nice. So immediately right there at about 3, it's nice. 4 mana deals good old 6 damage to a creature or a planeswalker. And that's not bad. That's pretty nice. Having modular spells really is a fantastic way of making sure that your spells are almost never dead when you top deck them. And I think that's true of all of the interventions so far. I think they're all pretty decent. No, Erebos's might actually be bad on top deck, if both are in top deck mode. But that's it. I think Perf's Intervention is decent. Whether or not it's going to see play, I kind of doubt. Naiad of Hidden Coves. 3 mana, 2/3. As long as it's not your turn, spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Now, for what it's worth, the cards that have been promoting flash stuff haven't been good. This one is no different. But I will continue to say, it's designed with flash in mind. Fuck that shit. I'm out. Shoal Kraken. Really difficult to see exactly what's going on. I'm pretty sure this is like an eye. It's like a nautiloid type shell. Got some tentacles here. I assume part of the nautiloid shell. No fucking idea. This is a lighthouse, I think. But honestly, it looks like it's part of the Kraken. Is it? Is that not its eye? Look, I don't know. Regardless, it's a 5 mana 3/5 Kraken. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. Probably pretty decent limited. Otherwise, nah. I've been a little disappointed in the number of constellation cards that aren't enchantments themselves. So let's see, advanced, and I'm doing this, I should have technically pulled this up already, but let's just look at some constellation cards, right? From OG Theros, this is an enchantment. This is not, this is from new. This is enchantment, this is enchantment, enchantment, not, but it's also new. Enchantment, 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 enchantment. Notably, I think, like all of the old ones, were also enchantments. Yes, actually, every single old constellation card was in and of itself an enchantment. So you got the ability right away. Now, obviously, some of these abilities you don't want to have on, like, happen immediately, right? 3 mana, 1/3, when it enters, if it were enchantment and would enter the battlefield, you put a 1 counter and draw a card. Now, obviously, you could just say, okay, well, just make the power toughness a little bit worse, blah, blah, blah. No, I think this is fine as a non-enchantment. But something like this, Pious Wayfarer, that's not going to be a broken card if it's an enchantment by itself, you know? This card, I don't know, it might be, but I'm not loving the amount of non-enchantments that have Constellation. It makes me sad. Vexing Gull is it's a flash Windrake. Windrake is good and limited. I assume this is probably going to be good and limited. Siona, captain of the Pyleus. I assume they're meant to be Amazonians. That does kind of, like, if you squint, it looks a little like Amy anyway. But there's like a dude there. I don't know if this is a dude slave or they're just not Amazons, whatever. Regardless, 3 mana, 2/2. When she enters the battlefield, look at the top 7 cards of your library. You can reveal an aura card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom in any order. Okay, that's not the best, but sure. Whenever an aura you control becomes attached to a creature you control, create a 1/1 white human soldier. That's nice. Honestly, I feel like it would be stronger if it didn't have to become attached. Because then right, you would have a situation where this fights against the inherent card disadvantage of auras, where if you target a creature with your aura, the creature dies, the aura disappears. And I talked about that last time with the bestow mechanic. I really feel like this could just be like, whenever an aura you control, or an aura spell you control becomes, or targets a creature you control, create a 1/1 instead. That way you're getting value there. Obviously you lose the value of, bouncing your auras, having auras come back from the graveyard, things like that. But when her first ability puts an aura into your hand, she essentially is telling you, I'm going to be casting this aura. So I wish she was a little bit better, because even now, right, she's not great. And even in like Brawl, where I assume this is meant to be played, enchantments just have such a hard time. Auras specifically. Normal enchantments are fine, but auras have such a hard time being good because of the inherent disadvantage you have when you try to enchant a creature. So I'm a little disappointed. Most honestly, I'm more disappointed in her second ability. Her first ability kind of like is meant to just be there to help make sure you have her second ability going, but her second ability, in my opinion, just isn't as good as it could and or should be. Arena Trickster, man with fake beard. Like that looks like metal, but it's obviously meant to be like a beard. But okay. 4 mana 3/3. When you cast your first spell during each opponent's turn, put a 1/1 counter on Arena Trickster. This card is probably not terrible. Obviously, they're going for some sort of blue-red end of turn stuff in Theros Limited. I think that's fine. Is it Flash? Is a thing, but I don't think is it Flash just looking for this. This is 4 mana. It's a little slow. I think that it's cool, but it's bad. Oread of Mountain's Blaze, 2 mana for a 1/3, and you essentially can just like discard a card to draw a card. That's what impulsive card draw, kind of. But still, 2 mana 1/3 with a loot-like ability in limited. I'm not going to scoff at that. Eutropia the Twice Favored. So she is not favored by Krufix. She's favored by both Nylea and Thassa. Or Thassa, whatever you want to say. 3 mana for a 2/2, Constellation. Whenever, not a creature, not an enchantment herself. It's bullshit, but whatever. Whenever an enchantment you control, or whenever enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. That creature gains flying until end of turn. They could have made this a 1/1 and had it be an enchantment. Because the inherent issue with giving certain Constellation creatures the enchantment type is that they can potentially make themselves like too good. You have to play them with other things. If this was a 1/1, and it just became a 2/2, it's not an issue. Because then you just have the rest of the ability. Except you get to have this trigger other Constellation cards when it enters the battlefield, and that's going to be why Constellation fails in this set. It's because there's no way they're going to print enough good enchantments. Frankly, they're just not going to. And you're going to have cards that have Constellation, and cards that are enchantments, which means you need these first, and then these. You need to have these out, have them stay out, then you have to play these to even get the triggers for these cards, and some of them aren't worth doing, right? Like, Eutropia, her ability is not, it's not great, right? That's, gosh, excuse me. That's just kind of trash. I'm going all the way back here because it's important to note things like Doomwake Giant. Things like Doomwake Giant at least did something when they entered, and they killed some tokens. It's 5 mana for a 4/6, but you know, it was a rare. It did things you needed it to do. Let's see, what is another one that I think is pretty cool? This one, sure, 3 mana 1/4. It's not great, but you get it immediately. And if you're playing a Constellation deck, you're going to want to play cards with Constellations, but you're also going to want to play enchantments, right? So if I play Grim Guardian, right? Boom, bada bing, bada boom. Sure, I have a little bit of a blocker. Then I can follow it up with Doomwake Giant, right? And not only am I going to be getting my opponent to lose 1 more life, which is nice, I'm going to have this. And then if next turn I play an Agent of Erebos, I'm going to get all 3, right? It's just really sad, I guess, that they don't have, they're not enchantments. It makes them worse. It makes them worse because it's harder to justify playing the Constellation cards because it's an A-B deck. You have to have A before you get B, because you need A to really get the value out of the reason you're playing B. Unless Theros has a bunch of fantastic enchantments and some better Constellation creatures, I just don't see it being the thing. Careless Celebrant is a 2 mana 2/1 Satyr Shaman with a fucking maul. Is that a mace? Mace maul? Flail. There we go. When it dies, it deals 2 damage to target creature, planeswalker opponent controls. Doesn't hit players. It's not good. It can technically kill X4s, which is cool. It does hurt planeswalkers, but it does not have a place in mono red because it doesn't go face. Lamia thing. It's an enchantment, which is cool. It has a lifelink. It's nice. 5 mana 4/4. That's decent. When it has the battlefield, search your library for a card and put it into your graveyard. It's pretty cool. It's Entomb on a body, except obviously much more expensive. Spells you cast from your graveyard cost 1 less to cast. That's awesome. It works interestingly with Muldrotha in Historic. I've heard some people talk about the Pioneer. Not going to happen. Costs way too much, frankly. There are really cool cards you can put into your graveyard. So I think this is a really cool card. I don't think it's going to be... Because it costs 5, I don't think it's going to see play in Standard. Or any, like, non-historic, non-Brawl, non-Commander formats. But in those places, it's pretty cool. Also, it's a Snake Lamia. I know there's at least one other Lamia. Lamia. Oh, it's just this one. Alright. Has this been errated? No, it's just a Lamia. Now, the thing is, these are 2 different types of Lamia. Right, this is the Uwu Snake Girl Lamia. This is the type of Lamia that is in Dungeons and Dragons. I don't have my player's handbook with me. It's over there. No, I need my monster manual, which is all the way in my closet. I don't have my monster manual, but I know that Lamias in D&D are like that. But whatever, I think it's cool. Whirlwind Denial. First of all, amazing art and flavor text. Dude is fucking like, ooh, shielding it. And no. 3 mana instant. For each spell and ability your opponents control, counter it unless its controller pays 4. Now this is similar to what is it? Flusterstorm meets like Convolute, I think is the card. Meets Disallow, actually, because Disallow hits abilities, and this doesn't specify which ability. It's just any ability. So if you this fucks Hydrocrisis. So Hydrocrisis is a cast trigger. Oh, this fucks cast trigger cards. Oh, it's great. So this is best against cast triggers like Hydrocrisis, because Hydrocrisis, you pay the X, you cast the card, the cast trigger goes on the stack, while Hydrocrisis is also on the stack. Well, I think technically Hydrocrisis goes on the stack after the cast trigger, but whatever, doesn't matter. For the cast trigger, if they want to gain life and draw cards, they have to pay 4. For the creature, they have to pay 4 if they want it. Fantastic. Otherwise, honestly, I think it's probably just a reasonable counterspell. It doesn't scale perfectly, but 4 mana is a decent amount, and the fact that the fact that this does just straight up hit Planeswalker ultimates, it can hit like fucking any spell, and if you know, if you're fighting over spells, if you're in a counterspell war, this ends that shit. I think this is a fantastic sideboard option. Yep. I mean, that's pretty much it. I think it's a fantastic sideboard option. Mantle of the 4 mana enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +4/+4. When it's put into the graveyard from battlefield, create 2/2 green wolf creature tokens. The card's not in limited. This card is amazing, right? This is 4 mana, immediate big buff. As soon as, you know, your creature dies or whatever, you get 2 more dudes. Fantastic. This is awful in constructed because when you're tapping out 4 mana to let's say it's on turn 4. You're tapping out your 4 mana to target your turn 3 play. Your opponent, in response, kills your turn 3 play with so many options, especially Murder Strider right now. Like, Murder Strider is heavily played right now. It's going to be played even more once all of this Mono Black goodness comes out. Your shit's going to die. You're going to lose your 4th turn. You're going to get no wolves because this is not Bestow. It has to go from the battlefield. Now, I would say, if... frankly, they should have just brought back Bestow. I mean... yeah, I mean, Bestow was just... Bestow was like one of the only times enchantments got to shine. Did they overpower? Did they make some of them overpowered? Maybe. Someone could argue that. But Bestow fixed an inherent flaws with auras that it doesn't seem like they care about making good. Archon of Sun's Grace. 4 mana, 3/4 flying lifelink. That's not bad. Frankly, that's just straight up not bad. Pegasus creatures you control have lifelink. Cool. I don't necessarily care. I don't. There's Loyal Pegasus in standard right now. There might be others. But when it has Constellation. But this one is not awful because the card by itself is fine. Right? You know, the 4 mana, 3/4 flying lifelink. Maybe you're playing a couple of enchantments in your deck. You get a couple Pegasuses? You get a couple of bird horses. And that's cool. It has lifelink. I think that's fine. Would it have been better as an enchantment itself? Yes. Yes, it would. It's me. No, obviously this looks nothing like me. It's an old man. I'm hideous. That guy's jacked. I have, like, actual noodle arms. It's fine. Thrix, the Sunstorm. So fucking close. 5 mana, 4/5, flash, flying, spells you cast with converted mana cost 5 or greater, cost 1 less to cast, and can't be countered. Ooh, baby, I love your way. This is a surprise blocker. This is something that you can cast, and then your... you cast this shit at the end of your control opponent's turn, then you play a Liliana, you play an Ugin, you cast Bolas. Notably, Bolas is not going to get the cost reduction. Who fucking cares? It can't be countered now. Bite me, counterspells. Obviously, yes, this isn't just for control and control fantasies. You can obviously play like Nissa or, I don't know, some other fucking green nonsense. Don't know who would want to do that. You can play Hydrocrasis. That can't be countered now. But who cares? This thing's awesome, and its name is very close to mine. You bet your ass I'm going to be making a deck with at least 3 of these cards in it. Fuck it, for the meme, I might just do 4. Oh my god, it's a giant. It's a giant. It works with Giant Tribal. This means that you can play your Realm Cult Giant's ability, and it won't die, and it can't be countered. Oh my god, it's so cool. Oh, Jeskai Giants, here I come. I'm just gonna move on. Euro. I think it's Euro. Euro. Titan of Nature's Wrath. These Titans are fucking dumb. 3 mana 6/6. When it enters the battlefield, sacrifice it unless it escaped. I'm just gonna note that this says enters the battlefield. I'm just gonna note that this says when it enters the battlefield. That is, my friend, a triggered ability. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to be playing Hushbringer alongside the Titans to get cheap-ass nonsense. But what I am saying is that I'm going to play that deck, and even if it's bad, I'm still going to make a video of it. Why? Because that shit's fucking hilarious. Turn 2, Hushbringer. Turn 3, Uro. I get to game 3, draw a card, and play an additional land. And I just have a 6/6. For what it's worth, even if you don't have that, this is still 3 mana for game 3, draw a card, and put a land into play. That's not bad. Escape, dub green, dub blue, exile 5 other cards. Now that's pretty steep, I'm not gonna lie. 5 cards is a lot. You can make it work. I feel like this card is insane. I could be super wrong. Oh! This plus Mirror March? Obviously, you have to sacrifice like all the shit anyway. But it's just funny to think about just drawing There's another Titan that I don't think I have on here. But it's also good, and it would be hilarious with Mirror March, if it ever worked. But it doesn't. Vuvuzela Zombie. This is a 2-mana 2/1. When it dies, create a goat. Is not very good, but it is a zombie, and it does seem like they're trying to have some sort of zombie deck in limited, so I think that's cool. Croissance de l'hydre. It's a good old-fashioned 3-mana enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on an enchanted creature. At the beginning of your upkeep, double the number of 1/1 counters. For 1/1 counter decks in EDH, you know, this is not awful. Everywhere else, it's bad because it's in aura, and it's never good to just put this on a thing. It's never good to just make this your turn, except maybe limited. But like, auras are so bad. It's the Jolly Green Giant. Eidolon. That's not as funny as the Jolly Green Giant. Also, this is not my cursor. This is just whoever took the screen grab. Anyway, 3 mana, 2/4. Well, that's pretty good by itself. You may play an additional land each turn. That's pretty good by itself. Lands you control are all basic land types in addition to their other types. So you're telling me that when I play this, and I have a bunch of non-basics, my Nissa now doubles all of the mana that they produce. Okay. What you're telling me is, if I have a bunch of basics that aren't swamps, these become swamps, and then now they happen to work with Cabal Stronghold. Now, notably, I'm saying they have to be basic lands. They are basics, and then they become swamps. That's why it works. Doesn't work with other things. Still, this card's fucking ridiculous. 3 mana for a 2/4 is pretty decent by itself. Obviously, we're in the world of, like, fucking 3 mana Okos, which is, Oko... No, I'm talking about in the grand scheme of things. I'm not talking about, like, in terms of things that are seeing play right now, obviously. But, like, anything compared to Oko is just garbage. But, you know, we're in the land of turn 4 doing dumb shit. This card's great. It's going to see play. I'm just a little sad because I would have rather gotten a Corsair Crewfix. Because I personally like Corsair more. But for what it's worth, this might make my Abzan mid-range dreams come true. This card helps, just like Corsair did, this card really does help multicolored mid-range decks. It fixes your mana, like literally fixes your mana, and it allows you to accelerate really nicely into your top-end Planeswalker or just big bomby spell threats. So I really do like this card, and I look forward to playing it. Renata, Call to the Hunt. Just fantastic art. Chris Ron? Of course Chris Ron did this. Chris Ron, one of my favorite artists, did a lot of the swords. Anyway, 4 mana for an X3. Her power is equal to the devotion. Each other creature you control enters the battlefield with an additional 1/1 counter on it. I think that's totally fine. I think that is a decent card. She's going to be pretty cool in Brawl. Is she going to see play anywhere else? No, I think green has just better turn 4s, cough cough questing beasts. Yeah, even in Devotion, I just don't see her being all that strong, but I do really like her for Brawl. Anax, Hardened in the Forge. A lot of confusion apparently around what happened to Anax, if he's dead, blah, blah, blah. Story spoilers, I guess, for last Theros. From what I understand, based on the many things I've read on the Vorthos pages and things, Anax was in a battle against a bunch of Minotaurs. Symede? Symede, I think is his wife's name. The queen of wherever the hell they rule. She was communing with Krufix to try and gain information on like how to defeat the Minotaurs. Right before Anax were to die, Krufix essentially was like, "Become mine, darling," kind of like a Persephone style thing. So she essentially died to go to Nyx to essentially be a captive of Krufix, I guess. Anax didn't die. He suffered wounds, but Elspeth showed up and fucked up a bunch of Minotaurs. That is my understanding based on that thing. What this, I assume, is referencing is, frankly, Kratos. That's my assumption. You know, he's got the kind of gray skin. He has an axe. I know technically Kratos doesn't have an axe. He looks Kratos-ish to me. And my assumption is that he came to Perthros and he was like, my wife just got, like, Nyx jacked. You want to help me do anything about this shit? And Perthros was like, I assume this is not canon. I assume it's just like, all right, yeah, sure. Become my demigod champion, and after we win the battle that's apparently happening that we don't know of because Wizards decided to get rid of the fucking lore, whatever. I like to feel like I'm gonna die. After you do that for me, then we can go beat up Krufix, and you can have your wife back. That's my assumption. Who cares? Anyway, let's get to this card. This is fucked up. It's one red. Power, devotion, sure. When Anax or another non-token creature you control dies, create a 1/1 red satyr with this creature can't block. If the creature had 4 power or greater, create 2 of those tokens instead. This doesn't go into a mono black sack deck, but it does go okay into a red black sack deck with red being the focus. Excuse me, this is not as good as or it's not as good because it's non-token. Obviously it would be like infinite loops and shit, so it doesn't work fantastically with 3-mana Chandra. Whether or not there's enough room in a deck like that to have Anax and 3-mana Chandra and Mayhem Devil, I don't know. That said, this card's not terrible. You know, by itself it's a 2/3. If you have, you know, a single other red pip, it's a 3-mana 3/3 with upside. 3-mana 3/3 with upside, totally fine. I just want to point out how horrified I am the longer I look at this card. Let's just go ahead and take all this in. Mouth, a bunch of teeth. Horribly gross by itself. Eyes, teeth. Oh, inside those nostrils, I don't know if you can tell, but those look like some fucking pearly whites to me. What about this? Oh, he just has a mouth on his nose. Speaking of mouth and places that don't belong, what the fuck are these? As we look more into the picture, oh yeah, Sphinx dying, sure, whatever. Are these mouths on your fucking hands? These are mouths on his fucking hands. What? Whatever. Regardless, fantastic card. Eat to extinction. 4-mana instant. Exile target creature or planeswalker. Look at the top card of your library. You may put that card in your graveyard. Now, first, I should address the elephant in the room, or the giant tooth monster in the room. This is Surveil. But it's not called Surveil. And a lot people had issues with them doing this a lot. They do it to keep down complexity. If someone's coming in to Magic with just Theros Beyond Death, they don't play Arena, so they don't know about Ravnica necessarily. You know, there's Thought Erasure that's played in Standard, but it's not played, you know, as much as it once was. So definitely, there's an argument both ways, right? On the one hand, I think it's fine to not just have this say a Surveil 1, because then you don't have the confusion of like what is Surveil. Usually on rares, I believe they don't add all of the reminder text. But then on the other side, you know, you're decreasing the amount of cards that can work with a given mechanic, right? If I have Night Veil not the name I was thinking. Let's just say Disinformation Campaign. If I have Disinformation Campaign out, I cast this, I don't actually get Disinformation Campaign back into my hands, even though what I'm doing is functionally identical to Surveil. So there's arguments for both ways. I think it's fine this way, as long as Wizards. My biggest thing is I want Wizards to print more cards with mechanics than they do. There are too many cards in sets that don't have mechanics from the set, frankly. But that's, I guess, neither here nor there. Regardless, this is a good card. It's very similar to Fastest Contempt, more splashable because it has 2 black pips. Better in some cases, worse in others. Getting that Surveil one is obviously going to be pretty nice, making sure you can hit whatever you're looking to hit. Gaining 2 life, also pretty important, especially in such a swingy metagame, let's say. 2 life can mean a turn, right? So I do like this card. I just don't want to look at it at all. At all. Oh, this card's gonna have an animation. This card is going to have an animation. We're going to this page. Thanks, lovely patrons. I really appreciate you. Feel free to support the channel in whatever way you would like. Financially, you can find links at that, or just like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. It really does help. It means a hell of a lot. It means probably a lot more than you guys realize. But I need to wash my eyes out. Until next time, all will be one and stuff.